So I was thinking about a problem, which is sometimes I get into conversations online. I had to check whether that was recording. Sometimes I get into conversations online about piracy. So, is it theft or not? Is generally where the argument starts whenever I get into it. And it intrigues me because I know that there's a lot of different answers to it. One is, it's definitely theft. I won't argue that one. But there's different kinds of theft. Theft of food, for example, is not the same as theft of property, even though food could be considered property. Food for thought. Second, who first used the term piracy to identify the act of sharing information? And it's a significant point when it's considered in context of the accusation of theft, because piracy comes with a threat of force implied, and that's why it's called piracy. And after a while, piracy became de rigueur, and now we call it fucking corporatism. But anyway. Third point, I wrote this out already, so I've been thinking about it. If you consider what you can actually find online through file sharing methods, you'll be surprised to find out that most of the stuff that's at the top of the lists with high numbers of seeders and also high numbers of leeches is absolute shit. It's no good at all. It's fairly new media. It's fairly highly produced. Generally, if it's Hollywood, it's got a lot of CG implied. But one way or the other, it ends up on the top of the list for a short period of time, and then over time, that list will change. Obviously, some things are more popular than others. Game of Thrones comes to mind, and the people who manage Game of Thrones, make money from licensing Game of Thrones, are really pissed because they see these raw numbers, but they don't really understand that it doesn't necessarily mean that that's money out of their pocket, so to speak. A lot of people who watch that will never watch it again, and the ones who really like it will buy a DVD. Third point, which I hadn't got to, which I was thinking about because I had a pretty good joint a minute ago.
See, there's two kinds of people in this world. Those who pay for their movie-going experiences, and those who seed. I seed.
Here it is. If, and it's in association with this last one, the file sharers I've known in the past have been really discriminating. No ands, ifs, or buts about it, and they've been discriminating in the best of possible ways, in the sense that they're critics of the media that they consume. So the things that they really like, they continue to seed over long periods of time. That means that it's effectively available on demand because its initial offering never stopped. It's been going ever since as a virtual understanding between whoever holds a copy of the torrent file, which identifies to the certain amount of data which exists on a large number of hard drives. The stuff that's schlock gets deleted. So if you want to really test your mettle as a pirate, a quote-unquote pirate, consider the stuff that you'd never ever want to watch again, that you delete it, but you don't only delete it from your local hard drive, but you don't seed it ever. The minute that you've come to whatever ratio, if you use ratios at all, I know I still do, even though I'm anonymously downloading, the minute the seed ratio gets back to 1, you have made sure that it at least existed long enough for you to replace it from whoever else in the world has yet to download it and wants to watch it. You don't necessarily have to wait till the ratio is 1. You can download it, and immediately, the minute that you finish downloading it, turn off the torrent software and be done with it. And at that point in time, it doesn't exist as part of that media collective anymore. You've effectively taken your cut and walked away with it. And unless you seed it back, which would be the act of voting yes for it, then you're effectively voting no for it. So it might exist in your hard drive, and you might watch it a million times, and they might feel out the number of license fees which would come with, pay-per-view watchings on whatever delivery method they want. For the pirates, though, in the here and now, you have a choice of what media deserves to stay there and should stay there because it's worth preserving, and which stuff isn't. And the best pirate sites, they don't concern themselves with that much TV. I realized too there was something I missed last night with the discussion on piracy. And yeah, I'm going to put another clip in just for it. I've been thinking about this for a little while, this particular claim or position. I think the best thing or the most surprising thing that the industry hasn't seemed to catch on with yet is the file sharing community doesn't always go crazy for the highest quality copy of anything. They just care that there is a copy. Not quality of it is sometimes debated, and if you go to, say, a torrent site of most kinds, they'll have a rating system even that will rate the quality of the audio and the quality of the video, and they try to make some kind of a statement or point about how good the video is from that, right? Now, if the industry truly wanted to play along with the good part of the given of the torrent system, and yeah, I do believe there is a good part to it, all it would have to do would be to insist or require or even accept that the copy of whatever, the copy of the media which they're trying to sell, is only ever going to be a low quality copy. Not the highest possible, but the lowest possible. And that way, anyone who truly likes it is forced to purchase it via DVD or whatever. If the quality of the copy which is being uploaded is low enough, then they're actually not losing anything, except people will have an experience spoiled because they haven't paid for it, but yet they know what's going to happen. Case of Game of Thrones comes to mind. Any copy of that I've ever downloaded has never been super high quality. It's only ever been, say, 400 megs at the most, maybe 6 if there was a double long episode or something. But other than that, it's as low as possible quality because people are trying to get it uploaded as fast as possible, and the smaller the file size, the better. The more seeds we get on it, the more people will make it available. Next thing you know, it's numbered in the thousands, the people that you can get it from. And that's kind of what bugs me about the system in its rejection of torrents, because here's a decentralized and user managed, user populated system which totally doesn't make the actual delivery of media as like through broadcast or via cable or whatever obsolete, but it's redundant. It's like the perfect redundant because it's the alternative, and that's why they don't like talking about piracy. It's also why the term is generally made into an argument about piracy as opposed to one about theft, because at the moment the file sharing / pirate option is what exists alongside of a de facto monopoly which the media system has. Now granted, it's not a really true monopoly because you've got options in terms of where do you go for content, different networks, different production companies. You don't necessarily have to go to Hollywood to watch a movie, right? But as time goes on, that's also where it tends to go to. Like the system tends to solidify and create a monolith as opposed to diversifying. And so really the only thing that's keeping the free market in check, so to speak, the more monopolar it becomes, are things like file sharers. In another context, we would be talking about the black market. How the black market, say for drugs, is something that actually keeps the price fairly low, even though it does keep it fairly high as well. But it's the only thing which allows, in some cases, for the price to be impacted. And they don't do it by engaging with the system at the system's level or at the system in the system's manner. They do it by stepping outside the boundaries of the system. So in that sense, the piracy is not piracy. At least file sharing is not piracy, not in the same way, but it is an operation of the free market. And if you look at the number of people who use file sharing as their main mode of media consumption, it kind of tells you quite a bit. One last side point to this. I don't know if anybody who's watching this video has ever watched Republic of Doyle. a locally produced TV show, which when it was first produced, they actually started offering a way to consume its content online by a stream through the producer, or through one of the producers, and also through the Canadian Crown Corporation, which was actually broadcasting it, CBC. So you could watch it online if you didn't watch it on your TV, and stream it at some later point. But streaming was not good through their setup, and I never did enjoy watching it that way. And they forced you to watch ads, which is to be expected. The funny thing was that file sharing, torrents in particular, already existed, and so Republic of Doyle ended up going to torrent. But because it went to torrent, it got around a lot of the international rules sometimes that exist in terms of what you can watch from another location. Like, I'm not entirely sure whether or not a person who is in Australia would be free to watch the content which is being streamed from CBC, no questions asked. The fact that they're starting in Australia is recognizable from their IP address, and when they log on to the CBC's website, it filters. Some of the time it would filter the content because it recognizes you're not Canadian, therefore you never ostensibly paid any taxes to the system, therefore you don't actually have the right to watch it. That's actually more pronounced in other jurisdictions. I noticed it more than once trying to watch stuff that the BBC was offering, not through their worldwide site, but just through their domestic BBC site. And it makes sense, although it doesn't make sense to me. If you're going to stream it, why not just stream it to everybody? Well, everybody's not created equally. Not everyone's a citizen. Republic of Doyle, though, crossed those boundaries without so much as without batting an eyelash, because people were downloading it and sharing it. And before long, the people who produced it must have recognized, just from looking at the download numbers alone, just look at the number of people from other places that have watched this already. We could probably sell this to these markets. True, they could. Where did it get sold? Well, it got sold to Australia, and I've never actually taken the time to look up what the download stats would be on any one of those TV shows or series or seasons, but I would not be surprised to find out that the first 2 seasons had such high hits that they knew ahead of time it would sell well in Australia. Anyhow, piracy.